I used to always call myself blessed. Like, oh, I have such a beautiful family. I'm so blessed. I've been married to an amazing man for 19 years. I'm so blessed. And after a lot of things, I realized that was a very incorrect way of defining how I feel. And I started using the word lucky. And when I first started using the word lucky, I always got corrected. Like my friends and family would be like, blessed. And at first I was like, yeah, blessed, blessed. But then I realized, why would I take on somebody else's definition if I feel lucky, not blessed? And one of the reasons that I came to that conclusion is, for example, it's a very common theme in my circles of religious friends and family. I grew up Christian, and one of the things that people often say is, I'm so blessed. And I have a friend who cannot have any babies. She wants to so bad, but she can't. She's adopted so many children, but for some reason she can't get pregnant. And so here I am with my fifth, I had my fifth 3 years ago. And I'm so blessed. So what does that make her? She doesn't have any children that she bore. So what does that make her? If I'm blessed by God and He loves me so much and He gave me the desires of my heart, what does that make my friend, who is an incredible human being? And so I think that really opened up my thought process and thinking about this whole culture, I feel like it's almost like an egoistic phrase. I'm so blessed. And I want to make it clear, because I do not judge anyone who says that, because I understand where they're coming from. It's coming from a good place, because I used to be there. I used to call myself blessed, and I know that it was coming from a pure place. But the more I grow, the more I realize how egoistic that sounds, and how, hey, I'm better than you are. Going back, do not misunderstand me. If somebody says I'm blessed, I understand where they're coming from. So I don't think that about them. But going back to me, I'm like, dang, that sounds so like I'm blessed, but not you. So I want to share a story. I have a friend who got married just a few years before I did. She's a few years older than I am. And you know how we all get married. We fall in love. We're obsessed. We get married, we say I do's, and we think it's going to be forever and it's going to be perfect and it's going to be amazing. And that's what most people think, right? Especially, I think, those who are married young. I got married at 18, so I often say 18 and a half. But it's very common, because I feel like at 18, you're still not a ripe adult. And so you have these pink colored glasses on, as my mom used to say. So she gets married to this amazing guy. And then they get married and have children. And a couple years later, I get married, I have children. So we're leading these parallel lives. She's growing her family, I'm growing my family. We're both having our struggles, like life, right? But then her husband gets into drugs, cheats on her, and just is not a very good husband. And my husband is this loyal, incredible, amazing man. What the heck? So here I am, the blessed one, with an amazing husband who is loyal to me. And here, my friend who had the same values, who chose her husband based on pretty much the same principles that I did, and in love and with this beautiful view of life, did not get so blessed. And so that story, I always bring it up in conversation when I talk about it with my friends, is that we led parallel lives. We were both pretty good people. We both made pretty good decisions early in life. We didn't party, we didn't sleep around. I think I'm grateful for that. I really got lucky that I didn't have that kind of life, because I really value that. Anyway, that's another talk for another subject, another day. But that's when that whole blessed versus lucky really solidified my beliefs. So back in 2022, 23, we had a really big hurricane come through South Carolina up to North Carolina called Hurricane Helene. Maybe you remember. And it wiped out pretty much a huge, large part of some of the North Carolina cities. And it went through our property. Both of our trees fell down. Our neighboring trees fell down. There's a few people in our surrounding neighborhoods that had their trees fall on their homes, and a few people even died because it was really early in the morning, and people were still sleeping. So I had this insane urge to sit down by our falling trees and make this video. And I hesitated because I understand how controversial it is. I understand how it may trigger some people, but it has been so heavy on my heart, and I'm so fired up about it. And I want to say the Hurricane Helene, the people who went to bed, they died because they weren't blessed. And I'm blessed because the trees fell to the other side of our backyard. That would be so arrogant to say, right? But that's how it sounds so often when someone says, I'm so blessed. We're so blessed that the trees did not fall on our roof and kill us. But it happened to other people. We live in a Bible Belt, so a lot of people here are Bible-believing Christians. And I'm sure that most of them said their bedtime prayers, asked for protection, asked for the blessing, but they never woke up. And so that is just my thoughts, my ramblings, and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't, and that's totally okay. I think that's what makes us so beautiful. My dad always used to say, can you imagine if we're all the same? That would be so boring. It's true. So I just want to encourage you that if you don't feel blessed, if you don't have the marriage or the children or whatever it is that the society calls blessed, it doesn't mean that you're not blessed. I feel like we're all lucky in our own way. We're all have these amazing experiences that shape us and help us become who we really are. And so I just want you to think about, how lucky are you? And you can even start with having a bed, having a roof over my head, having running water, very basic things. I'm a huge proponent of gratitude because it really saved my mental health at one point. Many points, but more specifically at one very large point in my life, and I'd love to share that later. But it is so true. Consider yourself lucky, not necessarily blessed, or whatever you are. If you say you're blessed, I'm not going to judge you. Okay, the sun has set. It is really dark, and I'm on my way back home to my children. But you're amazing and you're very lucky. I'll see you next time.